Hello, hello, good afternoon. Stephanie Zima here, my way of life coaching. And today I'm coming to you with a topic that was near and dear to my heart, which is why you keep changing your offer, your niche, or your launch date. Why you have to be so indecisive. And it's not really that you are indecisive, it's what happens when your nervous system is on fire and you are actually just dysregulated. If that is something that sounds relatable to you, make sure you stick around. Before I get into it, though, I am Stephanie Zima. If you don't know me, I help online entrepreneurs to turn overwhelm into consistent sales. And it all starts by regulating your nervous system. It's something that I had to learn over the last course of the 8 years because I had so much desire. I had so much drive to make my business work. But for some reason, I kept falling off the wagon. I kept, learning something. I kept doing and trying. And somehow it lasted for 2, 3, 4 days. Maybe I willed myself into a week of action and then I could not continue. I could not continue. I kept falling off the wagon. And there was quite the personal development um, journey that I had to get through. And this is how everything kind of developed, right? So today I want to talk to you. When you have issues about deciding something, it's not necessarily that you don't know how. It's not decision paralysis, analysis paralysis. That's really not what it is. It's a stress response. It's a stress response to you feeling dysregulated, triggered by maybe a thought that you're having, maybe a belief, a subconscious, deep rooted belief. I was talking to a customer yesterday, and she was telling me that one of her beliefs was that it's not going to last. It's not going to last. So any lens that she was starting to work her business on, she always had in the back of her head, it's not going to last. And with that, clearly the energy that she was putting into sales conversations, the energy that she was putting into lead generations, all these things were not necessarily the right one to convert into consistent sales, right? So addressing these core beliefs, these subconscious beliefs that you might be harboring is what's key. Because when you have this threatening thought, this threatening belief, to me, it was always no one cares. To her, it was it's not going to last, coming and stemming from scarcity, possibly, right? Whatever it is that is for you, when you get to the bottom of that thought, when you start realizing that it's just a thought and that you can build around it confidence, that you can build around this thought clarity that disproves this original adopted thought and belief, right? We need to understand that every person operates based on this inner paradigm. This inner paradigm is like a computer system that runs the show. That's what says, hey, I believe salespeople are yucky. Hey, I believe that we should be eating comfort food after 8. Hey, I should, all these things. We don't do this purposely. We don't do this consciously. Otherwise, we would be able to change. All these thoughts are happening subconsciously in the shadows until you start looking at those shadows, until you start taking some stuff out and shining the bright light at it to see, is it something that is worth keeping, or is it something that I need to change? Now, what happens here is that once we have this threatening thought, the subconscious threatening thought, our nervous system is going to respond. It's going to say, oh, wait a minute, that is very scary. We do not want to take a look at it. We do not want to post anything. If we post something, we could possibly be judged. We could possibly be abandoned. And oh my word, those would be triggering again, maybe some deep rooted fears that you've had from the childhood that you might not be aware of at this time. So as much as it sounds like, oh, I don't know why I'm not able to post, or I don't know why I'm overthinking this, or I don't know why I can't decide if I want to make a reel or a story, or I don't know if I'm, just not cut out for this. That sounds the surface level so simple, when in fact there's a lot underneath the surface that needs to be addressed, so that your nervous system does not react with a fight, flight, or freeze response. When you flee, you procrastinate. When you fight, you're blaming others. You're blaming social media. You're blaming comparison. You're blaming your family even. You're blaming your kids that you never have time. You're having these excuses all the time. That's a fight response. This is your nervous system responding to a very deep threaded, deep subconscious, most likely, belief that is harboring inside of you. Okay. So when you learn how to regulate that trigger, when you learn where it's coming from, figuring out, is it still something I should believe now? Is it something that maybe somebody else in my family believed? Where is this deep rooted issue come from? And is that an issue? Because sometimes it may be an issue. See, if you are not in a position that you can post about something and there's too big of a gap, for example, you are a stay-at-home mom with zero abilities to be a public speaker on the next, like traveling across the country, when you portray yourself as that, when you are trying to be that person, and you know that you can't deliver that at this moment, then there's something misaligned, right? Of course, your kid system is going to keep you safe, because otherwise you would just be insane. You can't deliver what you're trying to say. If that is the case, yes, of course, it's a valid fear. It's a valid overthinking. If you're lying, if you're not in your authentic self, if your brand does not align with who you are and what you can deliver, it's a valid response that your nervous system is doing. Your nervous system is not working against you, it's working for you. It's keeping you safe, it's keeping you sane, it's keeping you aligned. Remember, when you were a child, right? You adapt very quickly to everyone around you because you depend on their love and their support and their belonging. And out of the sudden now, without extra growing up work, you're expecting yourself to do the exact same thing, to stand yourself out there ready to be slaughtered by who knows is watching your posts, and you somehow, without giving yourself some armor, expect that that is going to happen. See, of course your nervous system is not going to let you down. You have to do some work in order to get you to actually have armor. Self-esteem, that is your armor, right? Your self-esteem, your confidence, your backup, like knowing what skills you have in your pocket, those are armors. And when you have that, then as part of your brand building, as part of your strategy to show up online and on social media, when you are having this work done, when you've done this work, now you can clearly say, you have clarity, right? Now you can clearly say, I want to show up in this way. I'm going to give this offer. I'm going to be able to show up in that way for my customers. Make sense? Okay. So when you have that worked out, you are going to create what's called certainty. Okay. Most people are not wanting to post, or they're not really knowing how to show up because they're afraid of this uncertainty. They don't know what this will look like. So they are not asking for anybody to take a look at their offer, or they're not asking for the sale because they are uncertain about what happens when the customer says yes. See, when you're not working out, when you haven't worked out all that strategy for you, like what system is going to happen for onboarding, what system is going to happen for customer care, customer retention, how are you going to show up, when are you going to show up, what is your boundaries around your business and your family, how are you going to work, when are you going to work, if you haven't had any time yet to really build that out, that portion of your business, building that out, what it does, it's creating the subconscious pressure that you don't really know what's going to happen when they say yes. Now, that's so scary to your body, to your system. And again, your nervous system is going to keep you safe by saying, we're going to put on the brakes, and it's going to show up in procrastination, and we're going to show up with overwhelm and brain fog, and we're going to show up with anxiety, and we are going to show up with confusion, and we are going to show up with all kinds of issues because we are lacking the clarity, we are lacking certainty. If, on the other hand, you have worked that out, you have a system, you know exactly what you're training, you're exactly knowing what you're offering, you know exactly what that would look like, you have a really good process in place, you're feeling safe physically and mentally, because when you have a conversation, you know what boundaries you're going to have and what that exactly will look like. Now, not only will your body feel safe enough to take action, but you're also going to change your energy towards your prospect, because your prospect is going to be like, oh, wow, she's got that figured out. So that builds trust. Okay. That is why some people just have it. This is the people that already have a nervous system that's calm, that is able to have boundaries clearly, that is not feeling threatened when somebody says yes, no, or asks questions. These things are really important, especially when it comes to sales. And when you regulate yourself, when you are clear on what it does, now you are going to act from a completely different energy level than if you are constantly uncertain and constantly scared. So I want to know from you, where have you delayed a decision lately? What is it for you that you have been doing? Is that something that you thought of before? Do you know that there's a paradigm, a subconscious belief system that you're operating on? And what dominating thought do you usually have? Send me a DM if you're not comfortable in sending, commenting on here. I know shadow work can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable. You don't necessarily want to broadcast yourself out there, which I think it's helpful to others, to be honest, and it bounds everybody together, because don't worry, everyone has those shadows. But if you feel more comfortable in having conversations with me privately, send me a DM. I would love to know. All right. I also like for you to save this video to watch later, or share it with somebody, tag somebody that you think could benefit from this as well. All right, let me know. Looking forward to all these conversations. Talk to you soon.